Can I get the?
Yep, we can get the slide back, except I don't want to blind your color.
Well, just if I just get the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want other people to be able to see it too, so.
No, I have nothing on it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this chart, it's for the entire solar market. This was from a market analysis.
Can I have it?
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. So that includes other
He's got what
more
he needs,
exotic.
so you don't-
Yeah, we don't have to
We're
find
good.
out.
All right, I just thought perhaps others
Yeah,
wanted to
so
see.
that includes other more exotic or more in the research phase types of panels that use more exotic material.
Okay.
And in terms
Anybody
of
else?
decommissioning,
There we go.
there will be a labor cost involved also.
Yep.
So you need to make provision for that.
Yeah, and again, if we were dealing with current prices and current rates, I don't know, does Weitzman operate here? Who's the scrap hauler, or who are the scrap?
Seagull Auto Crushes is normally
Yeah,
the Weissman's up here too.
are they? Well, they could come in, pull the thing out with a dump truck, and you'd end up with a nice benefit. So the only place where you'd have, the only situation where you'd lose money is if the value of those commodities went through the floor, which is possible. Anything's possible.
You don't know if there will be a crash or a boom at the time it needs to be decommissioned.
Nope, you don't. But when you think about everything else that gets built, at the end of the day, a lot of things, supermarkets, big box stores, they're good for 15 years. That's how long they're good for.
Is it possible just to do it on 3.5 acres and let's not mess with?
With the landfill? Yes, it is
Is
possible.
something that you would entertain?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
part of our proposal.
Yep.
Yeah, if you look on
For sure.
the, yeah, that's part of it.
Because personally, I'm
'cause we
more
understand
comfortable with
that's-
that than just use that field and not play with the
The blind.
landfill.
Well, so we wouldn't be allowed to play with a landfill unless the permitting entity, that's you, got information from an expert that said that it would be safe.
And
it's
that
gotta be-
expert will turn around and when it leaks, puts it back on us. And
Well, no, it's
you-
DEC. They have-
It's
But
DEC.
DEC would come in and pay for the cleanup?
Well, if they said it could be done, then it should be on their shoulders. is what
Doing it
my-
on landfills is not a new thing, and so maybe what would be useful there is for you guys to talk to somebody who's done this.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody who's done this before, and, you know, by all means, do due diligence and find out.
Right.
I'm just saying
I
it's,
still like the 3.5. How
It's-
much would that produce?
the 3.5 is
Because you
700.
based it up on a 5 acre deal.
700.
That's 3.5.
700.
700, yeah.
Okay, that-
And actually, because of the slope of that particular piece of land, I think it would be a little bit more than that because the southern exposure lets you pack panels closer together, so you can get a little bit more output.
So you can get more per unit.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, it is, you know, the B where the landfill is kind of a funky shape, so it's less desirable. On the other hand, what else are you gonna do with it? If it can be done safely to your satisfaction, it's a thing that people have done. But again, it's your decision.
Well, mowing the grass and stuff.
Mm.
What about a snowstorm? Are they at an angle where it sheds snow?
Yeah, I mean, typically, so we have the same conversation with rooftop. They're at an angle, it will shed, you will be losing power while they're covered, yes.
I mean,
And-
it's not a maintenance thing, you don't have to run, nobody else is swooping on.
No, and alas, I don't think we're gonna be getting more snow in the next 25 years than we have historically. So,
Right, ice will bother just as much up.
yeah, but they're black, so the sun will melt
Speed
it
it
on.
up.
Well, not as much, as long as something can get through. But if it becomes opaque, then no, nothing's happening with that.
And these systems are sized and designed in such a way where the losses from the snow don't really matter.
They're taken into account in terms of each individual's load, just as they would for a rooftop array. So it's made bigger.
And-
Understand? Like if we were up in Watertown, you'd be looking at bigger arrays because they got a lot of snow up there.
And fortunately, it doesn't snow in the summer when your biggest output is. So
Right.
if it is a snowy day in the middle of winter when the sun is low and
And
you
that's
only
the
lose a
biggest-
couple of hours.
Overall, the summer is the biggest usage.
Yeah. December, January, and February, you got maybe 6-7% a month of your production. So it's not a huge part of your asset at that time of year.
So you don't foresee the school probably being a beneficiary?
I don't want to say that. I think you should keep your options open and get all the information and see where it goes.
But it's
You
not
just gotta get
quite
numbers
straightforward.
It's not straightforward. No, it is not straightforward. Look, I'll say this. Our feeling, and we have advocated for this, is that the NYSERDA commercial industrial incentives are inadequate and should be raised. There's all kinds of communities and school districts that have tried and failed to go solar because they're already getting, 5-6 cents and they can't get a PPA for less. It's our view that that's not fair. But right now, that's the way it is. We're trying to change it. but-
Grants and stuff to like start this, what kind of grants are these? Private grants?
No. So if you go and look at your NYSEG bill, you'll see an SBC, Assistant Benefit Charge. We all pay into that. That's where the vast majority of this money is coming from, is that systems benefit charge. That's where NYSERDA gets its money. We're all paying into it, And so, obviously it would be fair if all of us can get something out of it.
So the initial charge for this initial cost is what you're saying is like a $5,000 initial startup.
Yeah, basically
You know,
the
get the thing
business
rolling if you
modeling
want it.
from Co-op Power, the interconnection costs, the permitting question,
Right.
right? Somebody's gonna have to be paid to evaluate that landfill if you wanna go there, to make sure that it would be safe. And so where it shifts over to the EPC is once we know that the property is good, we can permit it, we can interconnect it. And in many ways, that is easier to deal with because you fold those costs all into the build. It's the stuff before, because once you have a build, you have members
Right.
who have signed contracts who are going to pay you money, one way or the other.
If the
either upfront or
town's
over time.
paying 6 cents now, is this ever gonna pay?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
There's no way.
Well, rates could go up.
Well, they
on
will
your-
go up, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, this is slightly more optimistic than the first meeting we had over at Bainbridge, because we are faced with this challenge of inadequate incentives for upstate, low-paying public entities. And so, for me, I'd be hollering at Albany and saying, give us a better deal.
Right.
But we have to make do with what we have at the moment. And at the very least, we'll come out of this knowing what is possible on that property and what you'd need to hit, the price you'd need to hit to make it work. I hope we can make it work. I mean, I'm very confident we can make it work for residential and business. The big question is making it work for public entities, for the school. And I think the school was the first thought, right, that people had. And I'm in it. I used to be in other forms of education. I have 2 kids in school. I'm a big believer in keeping those costs low. You want to keep that school going and have their money going somewhere
I
else.
think, and this is where, and we're probably, what we're not seeing at this time. The problem is, the landfill, or if our property was next to the school, it'd be a no-brainer. Because
That-
for one
We
thing,
put it
you have
behind
no
the meter.
delivery fee.
We put it behind the meter.
Yeah, well, here's the other problem. When the commission back at the end of 2014 changed the formula from what is called monetary crediting to volumetric crediting, they also made it difficult to deal with the demand charges. And that's a problem for the school.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't actually solve our problem if it were on school property, financially speaking.
Right.
It might
I'm
reduce some
not,
of
I'm
our
not
costs.
saying financially speaking,
Yeah.
I'm saying you wouldn't have a decent percentage of your electric bill is delivery fees. And if it was on their property and fed right to the school, there would be no delivery fee.
Well,
for
there's
NYSEG.
not going to be a delivery fee. It's the connection fee. It's the fee to be connected to the grid. So you're paying a fee, whether you're residential, commercial, or
Right,
what
but,
have you.
I mean, everybody pays a delivery fee on an electric bill.
Yeah. So the delivery fee should be offset. And if I said that otherwise, I apologize.
Well, you did say something how.
Yeah. All right. So then that
But
was.
I'm not sure how it would be offset.
Well, because all of the charges associated with the supply are offset. But the fixed, like with my electric bill, I'm paying 18 cents a month, fixed. Doesn't matter how much electricity I use. That's the thing that's hard to make go away. And I don't know what the connection fee is for the school.
I know at our house, our delivery fee is almost as much as our electric fee.
So that's not your supply charge? That's something other than
Well,
the supply charge?
okay, you'd probably call it supply.
All right, well, the supply
That-
charge is what we're hitting. We're hitting
Right,
that
well, that's
solid.
what I get, if you got rid, like, if you had, well, if you had solar panels on your house, You have no
Either-
supply charges.
Either way, you
So
have no
you're
supply,
saving.
so, yeah, so
That would-
definitionally, it's, when you said delivery fee, I thought you were referring to
Okay,
something else.
No, supply charge.
Yeah, so
right.
the supply, when New York was deregulated in the 90s,
Right.
that meant that NYSEG and all the other utilities had to get out of the business of producing power and just distribute the power. So everything associated with the amount of electricity that you are supplied with and all of the fees that come off of that, depending on how much you use, those can be X'd out by solar.
Okay,
The thing that NYSEG charges you to maintain your connection to their grid, not so much.
that's right. The supply charge is gonna be there whether.
No,
No.
the
No,
connection
that's supply.
charge.
Okay, the extra.
The
Okay.
connection charge. Yes, sir.
Now, most places that produce power, they have to basically go to NYSEG and put in a bid that we're gonna put in this much, and whether NYSEG takes it or accepts it or not, correct?
So that's if you are a utility. We are not actually proposing to be a utility. This is not a commodity transaction. We're not an
Okay.
ESCO, so none of that
That
applies.
wipes that problem out.
Yeah, it does.
But with that, what do they agree to do that they will pay you for the power you produce? Because I had a friend that had
Yeah.
a business, and they had a generator, and any extra amount that they produced that they didn't use there,
Mm,
NYSEG bought back
Right. Did
for
they?
practically
No.
nothing.
Oh, yeah, all right, so that
So
depends
my
on the.
question is to
yeah.
you,
Right.
what are they going to pay back?
So currently, it's basically apples to apples, so if you're paying a certain amount, you're getting a certain amount, that's the regulation, that's what the commission has ordered. This value of distributed energy resources could change the way that works. Either way, the regulator tells the utility what they must do in that case. What it sounds like you're talking about is just like if I had solar on my house, once I got beyond my own usage,
Yes.
the value went straight through the floor, right? You pay avoided cost, which is kind of wholesale. It sounds like that's what your friend was into. This is not that. This is actually a commercial industrial array, but it is not a utility scale array. It's not going to be governed by the independent system operator. A utility scale array is basically a power plant. It's just a solar power plant as opposed to gas. That's not the regulations we're working with here. Neither are we working with residential regulations.
So bottom line is, there would be no dollars.
Sorry?
There would be no dollars paid for, you know, you use a certain amount, and you're not using any more, and the rest is going into the system.
Well,
And-
all of the power will be subscribed by somebody. So,
But suppose it's not.
well, we wouldn't want to do that.
Right, but I mean, so how does that work out?
Right, so in order for this thing to fly, you'll want all the power subscribed to. Say somebody needs to leave. The idea here is that there's going to be a lot more demand than supply because most people can't go solar on their property. I live in a forest, you have bad credit, you rent. So frankly, I think the problem we're going to be faced with in a year or two is too many people trying to get in that can't find a space.
Okay.
But that's a question that finance people ask, right? So when they look at the viability of the project, they're going to say, so do you have off-takers? Do you have contracts? And what happens if those contracts, if somebody leaves? Are you going to have replacements? So if we can demonstrate, let's say we have 100 members and there's another 150 people that want in, then I have no risk to my cash flow because if you go away, there's another 150 people waiting for your spot.
Well, I think, does anybody else have any more questions?
I guess at this point, we need more studies and more, both engineering and financial.
Correct. Yeah, we need more information,
And that's exactly what the
Now-
DEC grant will pay for,
hopefully,
hopefully.
if you get it.
If we get it.
Is
Well,
the
it's
DEC
been applied.
to, apply
Hopefully
for
that
the
will-
grant?
That's,
DEC Environmental Justice Grant Program is for things like this. It could be any kind of pollution that faces a town or going green, like this being solar, meets the green requirement. There's a lot of things that the environment, they will allow you to study. It was as simple as tractor trailers go up through
Oh,
towns.
thank you.
Is there a way to just see just a simple example? House A ties into this, how does that work?
for an
Relative
individual
to-
member?
For an individual member and on the macro scale for you know, the whole array?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if I am a member, I'm receiving my NYSEG bill just as I was. NYSEG is crediting me for the amount I subscribe to. So all I'm getting, every month I'm getting my NYSEG bill, I'm paying my 18 bucks or whatever it is. And then you're also paying a bill to the project for that electricity.
Okay.
That's how it looks.
And everybody pays a percentage.
Everybody is, if the model here is that you want to zero out your usage, then it's based on that. So the evaluation of your bill is exactly the same as if you did it on your roof. We need to know how much power you need, how many kilowatt hours you need in a given year to zero that out.
Now, we're not dealing with this project in particular, but you were talking about people not able to have space to have panels.
Yep.
Maybe your project, I got the impression is a private owner in Guilford.
Yes.
Is he getting land rent space?
Correct. Yeah. So actually, I'm glad you raised this. So there's two other kinds of benefit here we haven't talked about. One is that the landowner gets a lease fee.
What is that?
It depends on the land, it depends on the size of the project. So
Ours
we're
is
doing-
prime. What that gentleman right there said.
Here's the issue though. The more money you take, the less savings the members get. It all zeroes out. But to get to your question, you know, $1,000 an acre per year, give or take, is a good ballpark. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. We've got a very small project up in Hartwick, New York, in Otsego County. It's going to be like a 70 kW system. It's the police chief there, Mike Covert, and we're proposing about 500 a year because it's like a third of an acre. If you were dealing in you know, a 2 megawatt system, 10 acres, you know, you could be looking at 10 grand, give or take, every year for 20, 25 years, something like that. Now, for a municipality to get a cut of this, the only way you can do this and not make the project not work is by doing a payment in lieu of taxes. Reason being, we're all talking about what's going to happen in the next 25 years. I don't know. And so as a developer, I'm not going to bet on the folks who are sitting behind these desks having the same decisions for the next quarter century. So payment in lieu of taxes means we've had an agreement as to how much you're getting paid out of this, and we all know what it is, and that's the end of it. Whereas if it's a levy, God only knows. There's 3 different ways to tax solar panel production of a commercial industrial kind, and if you have uncertainty or too much, then the project goes bye-bye. The other thing to know is that if you opt out, and I think you may have, you can't do a pilot as long as you're there. It's a counterintuitive thing with RPTL 487, Real Property Tax Law 487. Opt out, can't have pilot. Stay in, can have pilot. So you'd think, well, if we opt out, we can tax this thing. Well, you can, but you can't do it with a pilot. Now, it's your own thing, right? So there was a question about that, and we actually didn't know the answer. We're going to talk with the Central New York Regional Planning Board, because they're doing a lot of municipal stuff, to find out if your opt-out would actually impact this project, even though it is a municipal project, a municipally owned project. We didn't want to just say no. I'm not sure.
You said the investor was going to own the asset. Now the municipality owns the project?
The municipality would be a member, right?
You said we own the project.
Well, you own
Owns
the
the
property. You own the property where the project is, and there's enough uncertainty there that I wouldn't simply want to say that you're exempt from your own regulation, because that's what we're talking about here. So we want to ask somebody who actually knows the answer to that question.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for giving us all this time. I don't know what else is on your agenda. I'm happy there's so much interest. Yes,
The
sir.
question that I had was, how far from the site can anybody be to be part of that?
Since it's not about the kilowatt hours, as long as they're in this load zone E, which I think next time we should have a map. So you could actually be anywhere from the Canadian border down to Sullivan County and get the credit. If you move over to Binghamton, you can't get the credit because you're in another load zone. Let's see.
So it doesn't make any difference where you're supplied from, because all of it's national grid.
Or NYSEG or whatever, yeah. So it's as if, like, you could buy power supply, green power, right? You get wind power. Are you getting those kilowatts? No, you're not.
Right.
You're not getting your power really from 9 Mile 2 or 1,
Right.
so it's all the same in that
It's
respect.
all the same, right? 'Cause I know that in the town of Franklin, there's probably 4 or 5 different entities that supply power, or, you know, Otego, Sydney, probably out of Delhi, Walton. I mean, it's coming in from all circuits, that's the, you know, so you're just, this program is to save the community anyway.
The one thing I will say is if you are on a municipal power system, you will not be able to be part of this for 2 reasons. One is you have to be part of NYSEG's grid since it's plugged into NYSEG's
Okay,
grid.
okay.
The other thing is that typically the munis have not allowed sufficient credit for it to work financially because they're already giving you cheap power. And so they end up with a problem. And that's,
Right.
you know, that's a general problem because the whole idea of the muni was to save money in the first place.
Right,
It seems
right.
kind of silly. We haven't dealt with that. And actually, I keep
Green,
using
I
these
guess,
weeds, but
tremendous.
there's, sorry?
Green, I understand, they only like pay 2 cents a kilowatt for that system or something. I mean,
I know in
No,
Delaware
awful
County,
low, it's-
there's at least one, Delaware Electric probably.
yeah, they're about half price of what NYSEG is.
Yep, yeah, way cheaper. We have one in the village of Endicott, it's like that.
Yep.
Endicott Municipal Light.
Well, we thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we're gonna get back to, oh, did you want to touch base or we're gonna do that later? Yeah, we
Let
can
me
go
talk
out.
with you.
Okay, sure. Some more grant stuff to figure out.
Excuse me, Bill, sneaking by.
This might be green.